All right, guys. So Benjamin Netanyahu, arguably one of, if not the most notorious war criminals on the face of the planet right now, is currently not far from me here in Washington, D.C., where he is doing the first sort of foreign visit under the Trump administration. This is who Trump wanted to come and stop by and talk to him, I guess, about, we can fairly presumably say, about allowing Israel to continue with the genocide in Gaza, as well as with the expansion of illegal settlements and the ethnic cleansing in the West Bank. So hear from Jennifer Jacobs of Bloomberg on the latest. They say ahead of the Trump-Netanyahu belay, I guess is how you pronounce that, at the White House today, senior admin officials say that Trump thinks it may take 15 years to rebuild the Gaza Strip and that it's inhumane to force people to live in an uninhabitable plot of land with unexploded ordnance and rubble. So, who's responsible for that? Who's responsible for turning Gaza into an uninhabitable plot of land with unexploded ordinances? In fact, which country's unexploded ordinances would you guys venture to guess are currently in the Gaza Strip? It's the U.S. We are the country that has been fully backing, arming, funding, giving diplomatic cover to Israel to utterly destroy Gaza. This is why we said immediately after October 7th, when Israel started bombing Gaza, that the goal, as was openly admitted by Israeli officials, by the way, was to make Gaza uninhabitable. That was always the goal from the beginning. And now they're using that as sort of a justification to say, well, it would be inhumane to have Palestinians return to their homes that have been destroyed in Gaza because of the wreckage that we have caused. So they're using the wreckage that they have caused as a justification for an ethnic cleansing. Keep in mind, Trump already floated this. I covered it on the channel, I think, a couple weeks ago now at this point. Moving all of the Palestinians out of Gaza and putting them in Egypt and Jordan. So just shipping them off to be perpetual refugees in surrounding countries. Obviously, this was rejected by these countries, Egypt and Jordan, as well as many other Arab nations. Now, Jennifer continues here, saying that Trump focused on getting all the hostages out. Oh, really? Okay. And ensuring that Hamas, a terrorist organization, is out of power. The two leaders will talk about the second stage of the hostage release deal with Hamas. And, quote, I think you'll hear some unity in how we intend to pursue that, according to aides. I don't know why she doubled up on the we there, but a couple of things here again. Number one, Trump focused on getting all the hostages out. Benjamin Netanyahu has been the single greatest blockade to getting Israeli hostages out of Gaza. He has been sabotaging every single chance at a hostage deal that has come across his desk. This was something that was also bragged about by some members of his cabinet, guys like Bezalel Smotrich, guys like Itamar Ben-Gvir. They've been openly against any sort of deal that could result in the release of Israeli hostages. Now we have this most recent deal that Trump administration officials, that Israeli officials have all been indicating is temporary, that it's not some sort of a long-term ceasefire deal. It's sort of more like a, let's get some of our hostages out and then we'll go back and continue the genocide. In fact, Benjamin Netanyahu's office apparently was claiming that both Trump and Biden, back when he was in office, gave him assurances that Israel would be able to continue with the genocide in Gaza. Now, that's one aspect of it. Obviously, Benjamin Netanyahu couldn't give a single solitary shit about the Israeli hostages if it means that he can't continue with his actions in Gaza. Second part about this is Hamas, a terrorist organization, must be out of power, according to the Trump administration. Guys, we just had a few weeks ago Antony Blinken, who wants more than anybody else on the face of the planet for Hamas to be out of power, right? Obviously, Joe Biden's former Secretary of State. He just admitted a few weeks ago that since October 7th, since this genocide began, since tens of thousands of people have been killed, since Gaza has been turned into utter and complete rubble, Hamas has recruited as many members as Israel has managed to kill, meaning they haven't really made much progress at all outside of killing people like Sinwar. They still haven't really made much progress in terms of completely eradicating Hamas or removing them from power. That's still not even something that's remotely in the immediate future or even the far future. So this is, again, another pretext, another justification to allow Israel to go back with full force into Gaza. And by the way, even though there's been this temporary ceasefire, Israel has still been killing Palestinians in Gaza. It's not as if that's completely stopped. So, I mean, again, all of this seems pretty clear. What's Benjamin Netanyahu's goal on this trip to D.C.? Well, there's this good article here that was written by Amir Tibon in Haaretz, an Israeli outlet. And he says, Netanyahu comes to Washington to kill Trump's Gaza deal. Will the president let him? They say in order to get the remaining hostages to their families, Trump will have to do something difficult, to reject a plane load of lies, excuses, and false promises and shiny distractions from Netanyahu and his right-hand man. If there's one thing in this world that I have absolutely no confidence in whatsoever, it's Trump's ability to reject shiny distractions and false promises. This is who Trump is, right? Do we really think that Trump is going to push back against Benjamin Netanyahu? The only off chance that you could possibly have at that is if Benjamin Netanyahu goes into Trump's office, in the Oval Office, or whatever the case may be, wherever they end up meeting, and he's just such a dick to Trump, or tries to sort of like boss Trump up to the point where he irks him a little bit, and then just purely out of spite, Trump decides to not go along with whatever Benjamin Netanyahu wants to do. If BB basically ego checks Trump, then it could blow back in his face, and it might not go the way he wants it to. But other than that, we know who Trump is. We know what his policy was during his first administration. We know that he took $100 million from Miriam Adelson to allow Israel to fully annex the West Bank. We know exactly who he is. Now, there was a recent update on this from yesterday, here from the Times of Israel. Trump will watch documentary of Hamas October 7th atrocities before meeting Netanyahu tomorrow. So he's getting like a little bit of a, I don't know, like a propaganda fix in right before the visit to for who knows what purpose? I don't know. Maybe in addition to watching whatever this documentary is on October 7th, he could watch some film of innocent Palestinian men, women, and children being blown to smithereens by Israel using U.S. bombs, by the way. Maybe toss that in to your viewing schedule ahead of Benjamin Netanyahu coming here. Now, we also have here, again on the West Bank, Francesca Albanese, who says that Israel's genocidal campaign is now moving to the West Bank as well, during the ceasefire in Gaza and amidst the silence of the international community. So some of these same indiscriminate tactics that Israel has been using in Gaza, they are now also deploying in the West Bank. You can see here it's the detonating of residential blocks in Jenin inside of the West Bank. So we've also covered the pogroms that have gone on. We've covered the mass arrests that have gone on in the West Bank. This is not going anywhere, guys. This is part of the reason why I think Bibi is coming to the U.S. to talk to Trump about this kind of thing. This is what Miriam Adelson is, getting her money's worth for, I guess. Not as if under the Biden administration or under Democrats it was a better situation, really. It wasn't. But it's going to be full steam ahead under the Trump administration, proudly, as we've seen from many of his newly appointed cabinet officials. Now, we also have, again, Trump refusing now to say if he supports Israeli annexation of the West Bank. This is coming at the same time that Trump is giving another $1 billion arms sale to Israel, as if they needed, more, right? As if the tens of billions of dollars that we've given them over the last year and a half of this genocide haven't been enough. They need more. We're going to send them more to continue to, I guess, bounce the rubble inside of Gaza. They also added on here that he's taking measures against anti-Israel bias in international institutions. Trump evaded questions on the West Bank annexation, but noted Israel's small size and brain power. Okay. We also have here, as a reminder, the horrid state, let's call it, of the Democratic Party's pushback to the Trump administration, if you can even call it pushback. Here we have House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries saying this. I mean, this is literally just 2 days ago. Sinwar is gone, Sinwar is gone, and Hamas is on the run, and Iran is at one of its weakest points in decades. We can't take our foot off the gas pedal until Iran is brought to its knees for the good of the world. So here we have the leader of the House Democrats doing some hawkish posturing towards Iran, This is the pushback that we get from Democratic leadership. As Jeremy points out here, he says, it's not like there's anything important for him to focus on in D.C. right now, so it's great that Hakeem Jeffries can take time out of his day to remind people that Democrats remain committed to expanding Israel's wars of aggression. Now, we did have this, which if you just looked at the headline here, you might say, oh my God, we're going to give Democrats credit here. Isn't this fantastic? The headline from CNN is Senate Democrats block International Criminal Court sanctions bill in response to the Netanyahu warrant. So if you guys remember, I covered it on the channel at the time, but the U.S. House of Representatives passed a bill essentially to target and go after and to sanction anybody associated with going after our little buddies in Israel through the vessels of international law, through the International Criminal Court or the ICJ or whatever else the case may be. So essentially, the House passed a bill with broad Republican support, and I think it was like 45 Democrats in the House voted for it. And it's literally just a bill to protect Benjamin Netanyahu and other Israeli war criminals from accountability under international law. That's what the bill is, right? As we also lecture other countries around the world about violations of international law, right? So the House passed this bill, then it goes to the Senate, and Senate Democrats actually, I believe they filibustered it, meaning that Republicans couldn't get it with the slim majority that they have right now, and they ended up blocking it successfully. Now, again, headline, a little bit misleading here, because Senate Democrats didn't vote against this because they disagreed on principle with the bill. In fact, if you go down a little bit further in this article somewhere, they say that Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer spoke on the floor moments before the vote and said that the bill was, quote, poorly drafted and deeply troublesome, and complained Republicans refused to make modest changes to the bill to attract Democratic support. So essentially, they disagreed on some of the semantics of this, right? They didn't disagree on principle in terms of attacking the International Criminal Court for going after Israeli war criminals. They were just attacking it on sort of like, at least make some modest changes for us around the edges, tweak it a little bit. Let's change the wording of it slightly, and then we'll support it. Republicans didn't do that, so then Senate Democrats blocked it. So credit, I don't know. I mean, this is the same, again, Democratic Party that just presided over a year and a half of genocide and ethnic cleansing. I don't really feel like you deserve the benefit of the doubt on something like this. Now, as you notice down here in the article as well, try to take a guess. Which Senate Democrat was the sole Democrat to vote in favor of this bill? I'll give you a second. Shouldn't be too difficult. It was, of course, John Fetterman. Now, I'm sure he's going to be dressed up nicely in his suit when Benjamin Netanyahu gets here. Because it seems like John Fetterman, who I used to think was, potentially going to be a great senator, not great, but a solid, at least somewhat left-leaning relative to the others, senator, back when he was running for office, and he's just become a full-blown Israel stooge. Like, Benjamin Netanyahu might as well be his president. And I really don't know if it's like, do they have something on this guy? Is it just that his brain sort of got scrambled and fucked up after he had the stroke? I don't know what happened to him. Maybe he was always like this. We knew that he wasn't good on the issue of Israel even when he was running. So it's not a mystery, but like, this guy takes it above and beyond. He's not just a standard Israel supporting Democrat, oh, I'll vote for the bill when it comes across. He is actively trying to get into like Twitter battles with people over the most egregious shit you could possibly imagine. He supports Israel as if it is the 51st state. Now, final thing here, because they mentioned it in this previous Haaretz article, but on top of, obviously continuing with the genocide, the ethnic cleansing, continuing to send billions of dollars in weaponry and to give diplomatic support and cover to Israel, we also have Trump, so-called free speech warrior Trump, who is going after college student protesters who have been protesting the endless slaughter of innocent men, women, and children in Gaza with U.S. bombs. And he's forming this new task force to battle anti-Semitism. Now, is anti-Semitism a real issue? Of course it is. Vastly disproportionately on the far right. We just had, the wealthiest man in the world, Elon Musk, who's basically hijacked our government at this point, doing a full-blown Hitler salute at a recent rally. So it is an issue, and it is a growing issue around the world. But is it an issue with anti-genocide college student protesters? No, it's not. And the irony on top of that is that this is coming from the same people who have spent years and years and years railing against DEI and censorship, right? And hate speech laws. And now those same people are supporting a specific carve-out for people who are critical of Israel, right? We will censor you. And in fact, if you are not a native-born American citizen, if you're somebody who's here on like a student visa or something, for example, we will deport you. That's part of this. Trump wants to deport students because they dared to speak out against Israel. And that's what this really is about. It's not about anti-Semitism. In the same way that we know that the ADL and Jonathan Greenblatt, their focus isn't on combating anti-Semitism. Their focus is on combating criticism of Israel. That's what this is about. So there's your update for today. We'll have to see what comes out of this Benjamin Netanyahu Trump meeting. I'm sure we'll have something over the next day or so. But yeah, this is going to continue, guys. I would be shocked beyond belief if the Trump administration somehow pushes Israel to continue with the ceasefire in Gaza. And even in that sort of, I guess, out of all of the scenarios on the table right now, that being the better one, even then, we still have the Trump administration pushing for all of the Palestinians in Gaza to be forced out, fully ethnically cleansed. So we'll have to stay on top of it, guys, but extremely bleak stuff.
Politic guy has the best politic. Believe me, no one does it like him. Believe me, everyone is saying